Action Comics
Yep.
1010. Brian Michael Bendis writing, Steve Epton on the art. This is the next part of Leviathan Rising. We start off with a very interesting scene with Bones and what appears to be, Manhunter. Kate, what's her
Yeah,
face?
Kate Spencer,
Kate Spencer, thank you.
who, yeah, who we've seen in Green Arrow. She was
Mm-hmm.
Ollie's lawyer. So, you know,
Yeah.
bringing her into the fold, that's cool.
And, well, not really.
Well, doesn't let you get there.
Yeah, because she's basically asking all these. It's like she's debriefing them and saying, "Okay, who
Yeah.
attacked? You saw whatever it was. What's going on?" And
And
very
he's
quickly,
clearly scarred from this.
yeah,
Like,
and
you
very
know,
quickly he kind of like, wait a minute, you're whoever this is. You're behind
yep.
this because it makes no sense for it to be you. So you're disguising it. Whoever you are, you're here to
hmm
do this because it's too sensitive to just send in someone else. So you're actually quite high up. You're in charge even.
Right.
And we see as she leaves, like, the image inducer or whatever, like, goes away. And
Yep.
admittedly, it's hard to tell exactly because it's a pretty generic kind of look, but it looks like Talia.
It looks like Talia.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it confirms it later with what Lois and Clark find. Well,
Mm-hmm.
their other names.
Yeah, Chaz
Hey,
and
Chaz and Andy.
There
Um,
was a moment when it cut to them, and I'm like, "What's
uh,
going on?" And I remembered the end of last issue, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's right,
yeah,
disguises."
it's so silly. I love it though. Like it goes the other way. It starts to be too silly, and then it comes back around. But here's the thing with Bones. I love that it showed how smart he is. Like, there's a reason why he was made director. Like,
Oh yeah,
yeah, in the pages of Supergirl, when he comes in and kind of ousts her from there, you're thinking like, oh yeah, he's a bad guy. But no, he's actually really good at his job as being a government agent. So it makes sense why Leviathan would want to take him off the board, like they did with Waller and Sam Lane.
yeah. And
Uh,
Joe, I really like about the end of this scene when he does when he accuses her of this. There's a great couple of panels in the art where
yep,
she just keeps the same face. He keeps staring at
yep,
her, and then she smirks. She just has this
yep.
sly smile, and he says, "I have powers," and as she's walking away, she says, "I have purpose," which it also implies that she does have some sort of big goal. But
Yep.
yeah, it looks a lot like Talia al Ghul. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, so Chaz and Andy are in London
Yeah.
because they're going to look into Spiral, and they reference this flashback to when they were Chaz and Andy before, and
Yeah.
I got really confused here for a second for
Me
a
too.
number of reasons. One, I'm like, okay, this is a flashback. Supergirl shows up in her old suit during this undercover
Mhm.
operation. Okay, that's fine. So
Mhm.
Kate, it says Kate Kane, director of Spiral. Is that meant to be in the flashback? If so, how? And then if it's not in the flashback, is she currently the director of Spiral? And if so, how?
Yeah, it's gonna be in the flashback. As far as I know, with Spiral, Spiral was only around for Grayson. So unless I'm forgetting something, and if I am, correct me, listeners. Um, she was never part of Spiral. It was Huntress or Helena Bertinelli.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, but yeah, this whole thing where they talk about Nemesis and where's it at? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And they're talking about the um, checkmate.
Mm.
So, because on one side you have members of Checkmate with Nemesis and White Queen Amanda Waller, Michael Holt, the White King, and then Count Vertigo, who looks different from what we've seen before. Um, but yeah, I'm glad it was just a flashback.
It's a one-page thing, but
Yeah.
it was a confusing page for me. Uh,
hmm
so there's a nice little not flashback, but a nice little cutaway to Amanda Waller in the fortress, try to basically pump Kalex for information. and, and
Yep.
then Jimmy's like just taking photos and, as she
She
puts
gets
it,
pissed.
paparazziing him.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, and I like how she's like, "Well, where am I?" And Keelix is like, "Well, you can't leave." And she's like, "Well, are you not allowing me?" He's like, "Well, you're in the middle of the Bermuda Triangle.
yeah,
There's nowhere really for you to go."
and
And it kind of puts her at ease too, because it's not like she's being held prisoner. She just literally can't go anywhere.
yeah, and Jimmy even says, "You're Leviathan, right? You tricked Superman into bringing
Yeah.
you here so you could bring the world to its knees." And she just stares at him.
Yep.
But I like how it's kind of playing with the idea that could she be involved in Leviathan? Could she be?
With her, you never count the wall out.
Oh yeah,
You know?
so Chaz and Andy meet up with Tiger, who's not very trusting, of course. But it's not too long before the big mysterious, shadowy doomsday-esque figure that we saw, before when DEO and when specifically when Waller and Lane were
Yep.
attacked, and Superman. And actually, this was a really funny page because Chaz just like Superman's up in front of Tiger, and Tiger's
Yep.
like, Chaz is Superman.
Uh-huh. And see, so Tiger was a character that was from Grayson.
Oh yeah, I know he's
He
from
was Agent
Grayson.
One.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And him and Dick really had some great moments because he was Mr. Serious, and Dick was always, this is why I wish Connor was here for this because it's where Grayson created the song based off the James Bond theme, and that
Mm.
was totally annoying Tiger, and so it was cool to see him here interacting with Superman. But so I'm trying to look up this uh, spiral with Kate Kane because it does seem familiar, but that's because there it is. The character that Kate Kane was based on, the original Batwoman, was Kathy Webb, and that goes back to Secret Organization Spiral. We're talking, I think, Golden Age. But anyways, yeah. I like what Superman's up to go deal with whatever the shadow
Oh yeah,
figure
because
is.
the art's great. He flies him off into space
Mhm.
because it looks like this robotic shadow figure, whatever he is, basically actually produces a bomb out of his chest because it's coming out as Superman's flying him up into the atmosphere,
Yeah.
and Superman throws him into space, and we see the blue explosion that we've seen because we've seen that when Jimmy was at the Cobra thing.
Yep.
We've seen this a couple of times. The art there is gorgeous, and then the issue ends with Superman coming back to the building he was in with Lois, and she's
Hmm.
gone. She's missing. And then the final thing
Yep.
just says next Leviathan revealed. So you know,
But so what's revealed here with Tiger, with Agent of Spiral, is that Spiral was created to keep tabs on superhero identities, to find out who they are, because people don't like secrets. But when you're going to spy on somebody, that's because you don't trust them or because you're the enemy. So that whole process of keeping check on the superheroes was faulty. So within Spiral, a counterintelligence branch was
yeah,
created that was Leviathan, right? Because that was like their Black Ops team.
yeah,
And
and naturally Lois says, or Clark says, yeah, but no, Talia created Leviathan, and he's like, no, she inherited it like everything else. So
which ties back to the woman that looked like Talia dealing with Bones, you know,
which is probably
you bring her
Talia.
up here. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, this is all using spy tropes too. So, you know, maybe someone's trying to frame Talia, right? In all of this,
Maybe.
there's all these possibilities. It's been ever since this was announced. I thought it was Talia just because of her ties to Leviathan from Batman Inc. through Silencer and all of that. So it's probably Occam's razor being what it is.
No, I mean
But yeah,
the idea Leviathan was just created to give Spiral something to do is really kind of
yep.
interesting. So,
Hmm.
um, I'm
Well, and again,
into.
that ties into Grayson because you find that out at the end that the person running the whole Spiral show, it's just basically an Ouroboros from Batman Inc. that Morrison put in there. It's a snake chasing its own tail, right? And so the fact that Bendis is going back and pulling that back out now to tell this story, I'm enjoying that a whole lot.
Yeah. Also, I want to note that at the end, the blast from the explosion actually burns off Superman's fake beard. I
Yes.
wanted to mention that.
Which did with the beard, does he not remind you of Henry Cavill?
A little bit, yeah.
I know that's got to be Epting's like
Yeah.
thing, right?
He's also
Like,
actually, it's worth mentioning in the art, he's actually got like a blue glow around him as if he's just doused in radiation from this blue shit.
yeah,
Like,
yep.
is it possible that he was like blasted into an alternate dimension or something like that, and that's why Lois isn't there?
I don't know.
I'm just
Talking
kidding, mostly,
Superman,
but
or no, our friend on Twitter was suggesting that maybe it's blue sun rays, which are ties to Bizarro. I don't know how that
mm.
ties in.
You know,
But the blue radiation.
now you mention
Superman
that, he
differently.
does look a little bit colourless in the skin in that last
Yeah.
page. He looks a little bit off. Although
So-
he still seems to be with it, you know, mentally, but
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Yeah, he is a little bit like sickly looking, kind of.
yeah.
But yeah, if it's blue solar energy, then we know that affects him differently
Yeah.
than which I forget just how. But it gives Bizarro stronger powers. I remember that, but I forget how it affects Superman.
Yeah. No, lots of interesting stuff. Again, the book's playing with the spy elements and the shadowy, like, you know, mysteries behind everything. I'm excited to see this reveal of Leviathan next issue, because it does feel like, obviously we hear Leviathan, we think Talia, and she's clearly involved in some capacity, but is it because she's actually the mastermind behind whatever's happening, or is she just a pawn like everyone else? It's hard to say at this point. And if she is the mastermind, then what's her goal here? What is the ultimate plan? Lots of interesting things at play here. So,
and before we move on to the keeping with the grand tradition of the first pages that Bendis has been doing since coming to action, we have what looks like a sketch of that shadow creature and that Bones is looking at as he's piecing it together, you know. And he has Spiral written down, Agent Zero, Tiger's name's underlined. He has Amanda Waller's name, Sam Lane, Steve Trevor, Rick Flag, Bob Harris, which cracked me up. Task Force X is circled, Cobra's knocked out, Adam Strange is circled, which is interesting considering that Strange showed up during the planet stuff in, was that Superman?
It was in Superman, yeah.
Yeah. He's got Thanagarian, Starro, Zudarian, Tamara, Door, and Fifth Dimension all written down. Argus. So I feel like these are clues that Bendis is giving us here about what's coming forward. But just like everything, there's a bit too much there to get the whole picture.
Yeah, he's definitely having fun playing with Superman mythos and history, and even just DC mythos and history at this point. But no, Action is one of the best books that DC's doing right now. And this issue was really, I mean, I think the confusing flashback page is the one sort of legitimate criticism I'd probably levy against it. Just because I was confused by a couple, I was like, okay, it's a one-page flashback, that's fine, but the roll call on either side made it more confusing than it needed to be. Because I'm like, is that giving me the roll call for this issue, or is it just giving me the roll call for the flashback?
I'm feeling that's the what's the gun thing where you see a gun later,
Chekhov's
a
gun
gun early in the Chekhov's. I feel that's Chekhov's roll call, that we're going to see these characters involved in the event Leviathan. So that's why they were put here.
Which is fine, because obviously Tiger shows up later, but I still think it's a confusing way of doing it, because it just made it feel weird. Like, I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah, well, it made it feel like they were jumping right into the adventure, and then you see Supergirl in the skirt costume, and you're like, well, no, that makes no sense. So then you realize, oh no, this is their last adventure as Chaz and Andy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What would you? I mean, maybe it's actually like a scene from an old comic. Maybe this is actually something that happened in the 2000s. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But all right, I guess we'll rate it. What you giving Action Comics?
I'm giving this one 8.5.
5. Yeah, I'll agree with the 8.5. I think that's the first score for this.